Late South End Zone. I am Chad. You see Tyler there. It's that time of year when championship trophies are won. Unfortunately, this is the first time since the opening season of the college football playoff that there's no SEC participant in the championship. That first one, Oregon, Ohio State, Cardale Jones against Marcus Mariota with Ezekiel Elliott getting it done. Everybody else was like, you see, we told you guys. And then after that, what did the SEC do, Tyler? They just rattled off. Every year after that, they had at least one participant in the championship game, and sometimes multiple participants in the championship game. And then now, finally, when the 14 playoff will be no more, they're finally going to have a Big Ten, Pac-12 championship,
and one from a conference that no longer exists.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Well, it still exists. It's just it's a two wolf pack at this point. So, shout out to the Huskies. We are happy to see Washington. I'm rooting for Michael Penix in this one. Like I like the dude. I have to take back everything I said. I said some negative things about him. I didn't know why he was burying his head in the little booth or whatever.
I'm convinced there's a monitor in there, and that's
there's got to be something. Yeah, he's either like studying film, or he's praying, or he's like getting his mind right for when he gets the ball back or something. Yeah. But obviously the dude has nerves of steel, and he's getting it done. So I'm looking for him to possibly get it done tonight. What do you think? How do you see this one going down?
I just want to talk about the games a little bit. Like, Alabama Michigan was a great game. It was a lot of mistakes. 5 sacks.
Both sides.
Yeah. But, a lot of mistakes. I think it was like the jitters were very apparent. Mm-hmm. It was, Michigan throwing an interception first play, and then
McCarthy tried to throw it away like on the opening play.
He's like, I don't,
like we don't want the ball. Yeah. I don't know who elected to receive, but
I don't want it.
Take this ball back.
Take this ball.
He got bailed out by the guy stepping out of bounds before he intercepted it.
And I just think it was crazy, like a crazy game back and forth. Mm-hmm. It made me more and more pissed as a Georgia fan that we let this Alabama team in. At the committee let this Alabama team in, and then what I'll say about the last play is I don't think that was. I think it was a run pass option, and he happened to drop the ball. So at that point, there was no option to pass. You just have to run.
It's so hard to tell.
People were breaking that play down in the way like that, like the receivers were going. Mm-hmm. It looks like if it would have been a good snap, he would have had the option to throw.
That wheel route was wide open, bro.
It was, and that's why I think like it wasn't a design run. It's just that there was a bad snap.
But to hear the coaches, that's why it's so confusing. To hear the coaches said that was the play that they called run up the middle.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
Alabama's got a lot of run pass option this year with Milroe's feet, and I think that I don't think they wanted to blame the center. Like I just think that it was a bad snap, and at that point, Milroe, if you can't get the ball out right away, the only option is to run. Right. And I think he just had to go for it. But let that be what it was. Great Rose Bowl. I mean, I thought it was cool. Michigan had the Rose Bowl patch on the shoulders. I thought that, like the retro M with the. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Michigan defense stood up big time, like getting to Milroe a lot, which I don't know how we could not. Anyway, I think that
same here.
Yeah, I don't know how we couldn't.
Well, I know how we did not, because our defense sucked, and Matt House would not blitz to save his life.
Yeah, I don't know,
and that's why he's no longer LSU's defensive coordinator. Shout out to Blake Baker. Let's go. Let's get it. Anyway, so did I send you the video of where somebody replaced the audio?
I don't know.
Last play. It was like Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, you did. It's like he just went in.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome.
But there's that game, and then Washington. My Lord, maybe we were being too negative about Michael Penix, but there's something about receivers and quarterbacks just being on the exact same page.
Absolutely,
that is just beautiful to see. And I think that we talk about Malik Neighbors being probably the number one receiver, Marvin being the number one receiver in this draft. Odunze, the kid from Washington, is a stud. But there were some throws where he just had to he didn't have to turn around. He just had to put his hands like this,
right?
Put his hands up in front, and just the ball was there. They were at 14, and I sent you. I made a little meme Essentially, it's like they're just dialing up 4 verticals. It's just like when you're playing NCAA 14, you're the quarterback, you want to pad your stats. It's 4 verticals every play.
Right.
Just get and he was just throwing like there's something about a lefty quarterback just zipping the ball that is so pretty to just watch.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed with Washington. We thought, everybody was like, oh, they don't deserve to be here, blah, 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 blah. They
No.
and I know Texas had a chance to, and I feel bad
Bro,
for that.
Texas made it crazy interesting at the end. Like, holy
I feel
cow.
bad for that Washington running back getting hurt on like a pretty much like a burner play. But yeah, Texas made it very interesting. I thought like the dump off in the red zone with no timeouts left was kind of wild to me on the first and goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I think that all in all, this is now the second year in a row where we could say that both games were good.
No, well, we talked about it. This is our first opportunity where I think we could very easily have like 3 like really, really good games.
Yeah.
And it's never been 3.
It's never been 3.
Like,
it's been 2
maybe a good championship and like one of the other ones is a dud or the championship's a blowout, but the other 2 were okay, or
like
one of them was good.
And
like last year were 2 great games and then a complete blowout that I stopped watching in the second quarter.
Yeah, I barely wanted to
turned
watch
the TV off, went and watched something else. Like,
yeah.
this is horrible, boring. Sorry, like no offense,
no.
but like
listen,
honestly, so like LSU won the baseball national championship this year, right?
Yeah.
So it was crazy because we walked off Wake Forest in the round before that, before the final, and that was so exhilarating. Such an amazing game. Walk off in extra innings, like it was great. Come back, game 1 against Florida is like nail biter right down to the end, and LSU wins it in dramatic fashion. Game 2, Florida just blows us out. I think they scored 24 runs or something like that. And then the next game, we come back and just destroy them like 18-4 or something like that. And so like from the 4th inning on, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this is, I mean, it's cool. Like, I like knowing that we just have this in the bag.
Yeah.
We are winning the national championship today. It's just a matter of like finishing getting 27 outs,
like,
but there's something about like, I know you, be honest.
We came out at halftime and I was
last year's championship versus the 2022 championship. Which one's better?
When we were going wire to wire, Alabama. Yeah. When Keely Ringo picked off the ball and I'm losing my mind with my family versus us coming out of half up 35 or whatever it was. I'm like, all right, well, we'll get sets and a couple more touchdowns and we'll sit them on the bench and we'll get some guys in. And that's kind of how that went. And I will say it's been nice to be able to be the reigning national champion since 2021. So it's the last, I can say that we are the reigning.
Shirt off today.
Yeah, it's like I got, been able to. I mean, the fact that I've been able to say it, it's 2024, and I've been able to say we're the reigning national champs since 21. Yeah, kind of wild. 22, whatever it was, kind of wild.
Early 22. Yeah, so like 22. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kind of wild. All right, so let's get into like what kind of, I think Michigan being able to get after Penix and get him off his square and have him, not being able to throw from a good platform to those elite receivers. Combination of that and like Washington, how good is their run defense?
Yeah.
Can Michigan establish the run and really get it going? But then on the other side, that's what I see. I see like Michigan's running it. It's like the up front. Does Michigan dominate up front like they have? Can they run the ball effectively and give McCarthy just enough time to like convert some third downs and extend drives? Because I think they're running games where it's going to come from. And then on the other side, can they generate enough of a pass rush to really mess with Penix and the timing with those receivers, or does Washington have enough? What I tend to think is, and I'll get your take on like where you see this going, is I think that Michigan is somewhat mistake prone, as we saw with Alabama. They get penalized and they can turn the ball over at some inopportune times. And I don't know, there's something about Penix and that offense and their defense too. Their defense found a way against Oregon when I think nobody thought that they were going to win that game. And they were in control of that game for the whole second half.
Yep.
And I think that they find a way to get enough done, and Penix gets the job done. What are your keys, and what do you think? How do you think this thing turns out?
I think this is an interesting game in the fact of like these offenses are dominant in two completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way they won their game and the way their offenses produced were opposite, right? It's like Penix almost threw for 500 yards,
right?
Like in their game, right? Like they were just slinging it,
and they can run the ball too.
And they
but
can,
but
they leaned on the pass,
right? But he'll throw for 500 before he runs for 50.
Exactly, and it's the opposite for
McCarthy, yeah.
For Michigan, it's like Corum may run for 200 before McCarthy passes for 200.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. I think that like that's the best way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like dominance in two different fashions. I think you're exactly right. Where it's like Michigan's defense showed that they can get to the quarterback. Can they get to Penix? Washington's offense showed that they can light it up. They can spread the ball around, and they can dice you up. Is Michigan's secondary ready for that? I don't know. We're going to find out. I think that if Washington's biggest key is if you stop Michigan up front, you have the game. Period. I don't. McCarthy is not he made the throws he needed to.
Yeah.
When called upon,
if he's consistently 3rd and 6 to 3rd and 9, it's going to be tough.
When called upon, he delivered. But you're talking about like the volume at which Penix was just letting it fly. Like that is not McCarthy. That's what I think is different of like the different styles of quarterbacks that they are. It's like McCarthy made the plays he had to, and Penix was making plays.
Yeah.
And then it's I think that Washington's run game is going to be the running back got hurt on that leg, that garbage play that ended up giving Texas the ball with time.
Right.
I like Washington tonight.
Yeah.
I like Washington straight up. I like Washington +4, +5, whatever it's going to end up being.
It's 5.5 last I looked. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think it's going to be possibly a high scoring game with we have Corum running it down one way and Penix moving the ball. I think the semifinal improved Penix's draft stock because it's like, okay, that he just beat Texas throwing for, I think they said the only person to throw for more yards in a semifinal game was Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And which is crazy because you're talking about a Heisman quarterback.
Right.
I don't know. I think Washington has the more dynamic offense that is going to be more difficult because Alabama's offense did not have the dimensions. Like Alabama's offense was almost easier to get, even though that we could not handle it, which we knew what the game plan should have been. Michigan had a game plan. It was Dolet Miller out of the pocket, get to him at all costs, and that's exactly what they did. 6 sacks.
Well, they exploited Alabama's weakness in their offensive line, and then you compound that with the fact that they couldn't snap the ball.
Couldn't get the ball to Milroe.
I mean, getting it to him in a place where he's not having to look for the ball before he can look up.
He had to look at the ground before he can look up.
Yeah, I mean that's not the whole. I mean, honestly, one of the benefits of going out of the gun is that if you're consistently snapping the ball where it's supposed to be, is that you can be. Peyton Manning was great at this, and that's why he loved running out of the shotgun. Was because he could, while the ball's being snapped, he can see if that linebacker is dropping or if he's staying, in what looked like blitz show before the snap or anything like that, or is that safety creeping up or whatever. And when you're going through a 3, 5, or 7 step drop, you can look at some of that, but you are kind of limited because you have to turn your head, and so you can't see all the way to your left side, and so it's just. But when you're having to look down at the ground, I mean, Michigan could do whatever they want. They could stunt, twist, whatever, and then you have no idea where that rush is coming from by the time you pick the ball up. If you even pick the ball, and that's some of the time he was just like, let me just fall on this so I don't turn the ball over. Yeah, and that was terrible. But I want to say this. One of the things I think that could be interesting. Michigan's really tough to stop consistently to where you do force them into those 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 9, whatever. It's really easy for them to get to 3rd and short.
Oh, absolutely.
2nd and short a lot of times, right? So where I think the real interesting part for me is going to be what happens when it gets into the red zone, and now you can tighten things up front a little bit more because you don't have as much to cover on the back end, right?
Which is going to be great for Michigan when Washington gets.
So then Washington can maybe. If they can just bend and not break, and force Michigan to kick field goals.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, if Penix can actually make the plays downfield, it makes it to where you're able, if you're Washington, you don't have to score every possession.
Yeah.
You don't have to score a touchdown every possession. Whereas I felt like against Texas, I feel
That's
like
what they were doing.
They maybe felt like they needed to.
Yeah.
And naturally, look how it ended up. They did.
Yeah,
was it 37-31 or something like that?
They pretty much were scoring every time they had the ball, almost.
Right?
Or getting at least in scoring position every time.
So you could score 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game, and still beat a Michigan team that if they stall in the red zone, and let's say they get a couple of Blake Corum touchdowns or a Blake and a Donovan Edwards touchdown, and then Roman Wilson gets a touchdown, something like that, but the rest is field goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 35-30, 31-30, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all right, so we got to welcome one of our fan favorites here, Jeremiah. He's a big Ohio State fan. He is he's not coming in. He's in the chat, but he says, if the NCAA doesn't vacate Michigan's season, it's proof that God is passing judgment on Ohio. Never mind all the other things that have happened in Ohio, like lighting lakes on fire and I don't know, like the other things with the water supply up there. But it's but yeah, that would be a symbol or a sign that God's passing judgment on Ohio. Oh shoot, no. Hi, Jeremiah. I know you're rooting hard against Big Blue, so you should find solace in the fact that Tyler and I are in your camp. Not necessarily for the same reasons that you are. I just thought it would be cool. I like the story with Washington and Michael Penix, and I don't know. I have a feeling it's just my gut, I guess, that tells me that like this is the one, and this is the one who I had picked before this whole thing started. Remember when they announced the thing, the Pacific Midwest? That's it. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's. I will say this, like we'll have to talk about this, Tyler, but like I'm thinking about maybe expanding this show for next year because we may have to have Drew and Jeremiah be like regular participants if they want to be. Because
put Ohio State
it's getting to the point, but something I don't know, but it's getting to the point now where are there any other conferences worth paying attention to besides the two that absorbed everybody who was good?
Because Florida State said the ACC ain't shit anymore, and
all you got is Florida State and Clemson. I mean, hell, it won't be long before Florida State and Clemson just join the SEC too.
Yeah, at this point,
I mean, seriously, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, Clemson and South Carolina already a natural rival. Florida State already natural rivals. You don't change anything with the schedule.
Miami,
they keep playing each other. Miami could come too. I mean, shoot, it's going to be to that point where we're going to have like 2 30-team conferences.
You're going to have the AFC, the NFC of the college football.
Right. At this point, I mean, the NCAA has already talked about possibly doing something like that, where they have like a separate, like 60-team division over here, and then like another 100-team division over here, where all the FCS and the remainder of the FBS guys go. But I don't know. I do. I mean, I think. Look, he asked if LSU wants or the SEC.
They'll hang around. They're not. I think they had a down year.
They had a down year or two. And I think if you go back to all this stuff, this is why I'm so excited about as an LSU fan. And we can move on to our next topic, which is a little recruiting update. But LSU went through this almost decade-long era during the Les Miles era with practically no quarterback. Like we went from Matt Flynn and winning a national championship in 2007 to Ryan Perrilloux, Andrew Hatch, Jarrett Lee, Jordan Jefferson, Anthony Jennings, Brandon Harris. Zach Mettenberger. Yeah, I mean, you see where I'm going here. Like, it was rough times, and then you follow that up with and then Danny Etling at the end of that, right before Joe Burrow came in. Yeah. So what do we get? We get Joe Burrow. We get transfer 1 year, have a decent season as your first year at LSU as a transfer. Next year, Heisman Trophy, national championship. We had like the Miles Brennan and who was the other guy? Max Johnson, the dude who went to Texas A&M, Brad Johnson's son. had those two guys battle it out for a couple of years, and then now you get Jaden Daniels transferring in from Arizona State. Has a decent year, his first year as a transfer. The next year doesn't win the national championship. Not his fault. We would have won a national championship if we had a middle of the pack defense, but instead we had possibly the worst defense LSU has ever assembled. Thank you, Matt House. That's why you don't have a job anymore. Good luck, though. I know I think he or one of the other coordinators, I think they just had a baby. I feel bad for him. Like, you got to go find another job, but I don't know, man. Like this, we're trying to win championships over here. Sorry. It is what it is, but no. So Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman Trophy, though. And so now what do? We turn around and we scoop up the number one quarterback, the number one player overall in the 2025 class, Bryce Underwood. He'll be coming. But before that happened, LSU, let me pull up the things, because when we did our recruiting show just last week, we had LSU ranked number 10. Well, a lot has happened since then. LSU has moved up to number 7 now as the number one player in the state of Louisiana. Dominic McKinley committed to LSU. Hasn't signed yet. That won't happen until February because the signing period had already passed.
The real signing day.
Yeah, the old real signing day. And so you have to scroll all the way down to here. But there he is, Dominic McKinley, number one player in the state of Louisiana. Remember, I talked about that. We got, so now it's 9 out of 10 of the top 10 players in the state of Louisiana. And I think it's 13 out of 15 or somewhere in that neighborhood. It's a lot. And then, we already talked about those transfers earlier, but we got another transfer picked up, Jair Brown from Ohio State, where Jeremiah sets up shop. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school and comes in as a 4-star transfer from Ohio State to LSU. So that was pretty big. You guys had a decent transfer portal swing, didn't you? We want to talk about the guy that you guys picked up, because it's kind of a big deal.
Yes, we bring in Trevor Etienne from University of Florida. Which is wild, right? Like this transfer portal is just like, yeah, we're gonna take a kid from University of Florida and just let him play. Like that doesn't really make, like, it's wild to even say that's a thing that's happening, but it is.
There he is. You see him right there.
Yes, we're bringing him in. We also added a couple other guys. We got Colby Young from Miami, wide receiver, bringing him in, and we also the USC receiver, Michael Jackson III, coming in. And so now we're getting some guys now. We have not really been big on like transfer portal guys coming in. It's been more guys leaving. A.D. Mitchell, Jermaine Burton, screw him, whatever.
Guy.
My favorite guy in the whole world. A.D. Mitchell could have been a 3-time national champ for 2 different schools if he would have, but I like what we're doing. I think that we're not going too transfer portal heavy, a la Auburn.
Right.
I think we're getting the guys.
I think some of these things, though,
we need them.
Yeah, I think some of that stuff, though, is like you got to look at where you are as a program, and that's how some of that stuff gets dictated. Because LSU had the same thing, where we went heavy transfer portal for a couple of years, and then I think Brian Kelly realized, like, look, we
only have 5 guys coming in from the transfer portal. We had like 20 plus guys leave, but we have like 5 guys coming in as of right now on the transfer portal. Well, and you and I talked about this. Like, I think one of the biggest things that from what I've heard and I understand, especially with when it comes to recruiting, is that Kirby Smart does not throw the bag at guys who are not at Georgia yet. Like, you can make like there's no lie about them getting all the NIL money when they're there, but he's not gonna. So it's been said he doesn't throw all this NIL money at guys to come.
Yeah, he doesn't prepay.
He doesn't prepay for his guys. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's like why we saw guys go to Auburn, guys flip. It's like because Auburn just says, "We'll just take all of our money, swipe." So
does Texas A&M, and then they take the money and then they leave.
Exactly. So I think we have 5 solid transfers in right now. We had some guys leave, especially on the defense, and then we had Julian Humphrey, who I think's not even 24 hours after said he was staying at Georgia, is now leaving. So whatever.
They must know you're talking about Georgia. The dogs are barking. You can hear them in the background.
Losing Mekhi Muse to Syracuse, which I kind of understand. He was a walk-on. Syracuse is offering him a scholarship. Like you can't hate that.
No.
But and Vandergriff, obviously, he was the best quarterback in his recruiting class, and he's now going to be playing at Kentucky. I think that NTN is going to be huge, as a solid running back. As Beck's coming back this year, I like where we're sitting right now as far as this class for next year. I mean, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's a little bump in the road, right? Like you back-to-back national championships, this close to getting into the playoff again, and who knows? Like you guys might be playing tonight if you had found a way to sneak in. Had found a way to sneak in, but it didn't happen. But then you continue to reload. A great recruiting class last year, a great recruiting class again this year, and you keep building the ranks. Alabama had a good class a couple of years ago, so that it's going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds as some of those guys mature. But some of those guys have left too. Yep. And there's a lot of the stuff that happens with different teams where like the turnover is pretty great. But one of the things I wanted to, so this is, I went and looked it up.
Is this 2025?
Yeah. The last 5 years or so, LSU's had 1 5-star recruit each year. We already have 3. And wow. It's January a year before, so now these guys haven't signed yet, but when you have these 3 guys, and I'm going to show you the 3 guys I'm talking about, when you have the number 1 quarterback, who's also the number 1 player overall, and the number 1 running back, and the number 1 receiver, and they're like tagging each other in social media, and they're like, they're basically saying like, we're doing it, like y'all come down, that kind of thing. Like it's, this, I don't get vibes of like needing to be worried about this being this isn't a Texas A&M situation.
Yeah, right.
So like Bryce Underwood, and so the other thing is too, Texas A&M got that huge recruiting class with Jimbo Fisher throwing a lot of money when NIL had first started, and it was just kind of like we didn't know. Yeah. I don't think everybody knew how to navigate that and how to use it properly just yet. And so, like you said, they just threw a bunch of money at those kids. They all came, but there was no chemistry or anything like that.
Yeah.
They went 5-7, and everybody jumped ship. Like they had half of those people left.
Yeah, bro. Listen, I will never listen. I like NIL. We won 2 national championships with a walk-on quarterback. So I really, NIL prepaying for players doesn't mean we have said this time and time again. Yes, we have Georgia has the number 1 recruiting class for next year as it stands right now. But you don't win a national championship in recruiting season, period.
Right.
You just don't, because you can't win a game with all freshmen. And so like I said, I'm happy with where we're at. Oh,
no, you don't win.
It was 5 incoming transfers and 19 outgoing transfers for us.
Right.
Is where we're at right now.
Yeah. Well, you don't win a national championship on signing day.
No, you don't.
But you win one 3 years later if you build up a couple of signing days and you keep those guys. And one of the ways that you keep those guys is either in this case, so you got Harlan Berry, number 1 running back, is from Louisiana. DeCorian Moore, the number 1 receiver, is from Texas. So it's not that far. It's not like he's coming from Florida. Now, Bryce Underwood is coming from Michigan. But the one thing that I'll say is, unlike Texas A&M, with that big recruiting class they had back in 2022, LSU has 2 of the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners as quarterbacks. A&M didn't have anything like that to offer these guys. And so, like, you tell me that, like, where's the better place to go play quarterback than the place that has a number 1 draft pick in Joe Burrow, a top 10 possible draft pick in Jaden Daniels, both Heisman Trophy winners? Huh?
He should be.
Yeah. I mean, I've been telling people, like, if y'all are watching, because there's some Bears fans and stuff that with my Cubs stuff that I run into sometimes, and they're trying to figure out, do they want to go Caleb Williams or Drake May? I'm like, man,
Jaden Daniels.
I think one of those guys is Justin Fields, Caleb Williams. All right. The other guy is, to me, Ryan Leaf, Drake May, where it's like, he's big. He's got all the measurables, but show me a big game that dude's won.
Dude, like, I would
winning 75-72 against Wake Forest. That doesn't count. I'm saying, like, show me where he went toe to toe with Clemson or Florida State or something like that and hit him in the mouth. And it wasn't something where they just like both teams bled out, and it was like 58-54.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think like we're talking about the wrong two quarterbacks when it comes to this draft. It's not Caleb, in my opinion.
Michael
it's not
Penix
Caleb,
and Jaden Daniels.
Thank you. It's not Caleb.
Yeah.
It's not Caleb Williams. It's not Drake May. It's Penix and it's Daniels. Bo Nix, sorry, you're Oregon quarterback for a reason, and that's let that be what it is. But it's Penix and it's Daniels.
If anybody's checked down Charlie, it's Bo Nix.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, we talked about this. Like,
yes, we have.
So much of his stuff is within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Here's the thing. I want people to understand, like, what we're talking about is not the old Tim Tebow, Danny Werfel winner tag, right?
Yeah.
This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you want drop it in a trash can from 60 yards away accuracy on deep balls. If you want the ability to, in Penix's case, to make plays by keeping the play alive behind the line of scrimmage and then finding your receivers downfield and pinpoint accuracy hitting them. I don't think now I do think that I give Jaden Daniels the edge because I think he's better at those things.
Yeah.
And I actually think as good as I think Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are, I don't think they are as like elite at the ball skills part that especially Roma Dunze is.
Yeah. Oh my
like that dude, like like you were talking about, like he's just like
yep.
You know, just like just snatching it, no look, snatch. I mean, it's crazy.
In stride, not even breaking a sweat, you know.
So right. So and Penix, you know, his accuracy is really good, but I've also seen him at times where he struggled with it. Most of that was last year though. What Daniels brings to the table that I was watching Josh Allen last night, and I was just like, man, like the stuff that Josh Allen is doing, Jaden Daniels does all those things downfield as well or better. Yep. Now, he may not have the same arm strength because he's not as big and may not be able to drive the ball. Allen may have like 10 yards on him downfield, right? But accuracy-wise and putting the ball where it needs to be and putting it in a place where the receiver can make a play and it's really tough to defend it, I don't know that there's anybody better. The difference is when Josh Allen takes off to run, it's like trying to tackle a truck.
A freight train. Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to bring him down.
Yeah.
But he's nowhere near the escape artist that Jaden Daniels is.
Yeah.
Daniels has this ability to take it and go 75 yards like that.
Yeah, dude. And they were talking about Penix. Penix went down to LA and beat Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Look,
the last time he played Michigan, he beat them.
Yep.
As the quarterback at Indiana 2 years ago.
Yep.
Right. So like that's why I kind of think he can get this.
Those are the best two quarterbacks in the draft. It's Daniels and Penix.
I think so too.
The media has it backwards. Yep. It is what it is.
Well, it's your typical, draft combine BS type stuff.
Measurables. Talk about Joe Burrow's tiny hands or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to say something. Right. There's probably going to be some other stuff that separates them even more at the combine. Watch. I bet you Drake May's gonna be bumped up even more.
Like the Zach Wilson type of pro day where he's doing like that kind of
stuff.
Yeah,
there's gonna be something where they're gonna be like, oh gosh, look, Penix such and such. They're gonna say they have something negative to say about Penix. He's gonna run like a 5.2 40 or something like that. I don't know. He's not super fast.
He's not gonna bench press enough, or
he's not gonna bench press enough. Right. Jaden Daniels is gonna be like he's gonna come in at like 205 or something like that. And they're like, oh my god, he's too small. Huh?
Check the film. That's all that matters.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And then look at the competition too. That's the other thing. Like seriously, who's Drake May playing against?
Like, as I said, Penix and Williams went head to head, and you're right.
Yeah.
Drake. Who is Drake? Like North Carolina was not talked about nearly enough this year to be like, oh, Drake May is the truth.
Right.
I'm sorry. North Carolina had a great defense, and that's what kept them around in games.
And Drake May had a really good year last year, but again, it was putting up monster numbers in these shootouts with Wake Forest and Boston College and NC State and crap like that.
Appalachian State.
Yeah. That's never forget the
barn burner. I think 65 to 60 something game with App State.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's the route that's going to end up going. So let's get into. You wanted to talk a little bit about our bowl games.
A little bit. We can wrap up on bowl.
I'll let you go first because yours is the stupidest one. So go ahead.
You mean winning 63-3 is not stupid? Like, I mean,
when you're playing against a team that was all in high school last year,
yeah, a high school team, yeah. I mean, like, and I just hated it. Everybody's like, "Oh,
you played against Will Muschamp's, or you got to play Will Muschamp's kid."
Son.
I'm saying you got to play Will Muschamp's kid, like in the game. That's how bad it was. Like y'all were able to insert him into the lineup.
Yeah, bro. It was a practice. It was literally a practice because we had, we had the majority of our starting offense without Amarius Mims at tackle, without Brock Bowers at tight end. And Ra Thomas because he was hurt.
Right.
Other than that, it was like our starting offense, and we put up, what was it, 30, 35 first half? Some ridiculous.
No,
I stopped counting.
It was more than that, wasn't it? It was in the 40s.
40.
I thought
it was 40 because I took the alt spread minus 40.
You were talking about y'all could have possibly scored 100.
Yes, I think we legitimately probably could have put up 80 if we kept the starters in.
Yeah.
But
and the other thing is too, I have to say this: like Kirby's smart, and the way that he prepares a team to go out and just dominate anyway. All the noise and everything else just gets filtered out.
Everybody in the game, like he kept.
And you just go smoke them.
Like I understand. Like here's what I think, and one of my coworkers made a great point. He's like, because he's a Notre Dame fan, and he's like, if you are getting NIL money, you owe us the ball game. And I was like, look, that's not like a terrible point. I think that's not a terrible point. I think, and my point is that like, if you're not going first round or like maybe even second, like you should be playing. Like Brock Bowers is going top 10. He should not be playing in the bowl game. Like,
I'll say this about the NIL point though. Here's my counterpoint to that.
I don't think it's a bad point.
If I'm no, it's not a terrible point. But all right, let's just say so. Jaden Daniels got a bag from Raising Cane's. He's got commercials, Raising Cane's commercials, and all this stuff. If I'm Todd Graves and I paid Jaden Daniels to be a Cane's spokesman, what I want more than anything is Jaden Daniels pimping Cane's as a top 10 draft pick in the NFL, not in a wheelchair because he played in the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that's totally fair.
I don't want I don't care about that bowl game nearly as much as I care about him signing a mega deal. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's all subjective, and I think that's the thing where you could probably go and talk to your NIL providers or whatever and be like, hey, look, here's the deal. You want to put something up, write something up, whatever, we can do it. I'm not playing in this bowl game, but I got you, on draft day.
Yeah.
I'll wear a Cane's shirt or whatever, you know what I mean? Like something like that where this is not this is going to pay off for you, me not playing in this game. I don't want you to be hurt financially by, your investment not being showcased on the bowl game.
And it was cool because we were running a practice essentially because second half we came out and they literally stressed the fact that it was Gunnar Stockton, but it was the starting offense. And he still, once again, moved the ball down the field, lit it up, looked great.
Yeah.
Who will most likely replace, unless we get something crazy, he's going to be in line once Beck is done next year. And then we also had our running back, and I'm going to forget his name because he's been hurt a lot. He's a redshirt freshman, number 0, Robinson. He's 240. Stud, 240, and solid.
That's solid. Like our Caleb Jackson for LSU. He's
solid 240.
He's a stud. He's the dude who trucked that dude on that kickoff against Mississippi State. But I mean, that's a 240. That's some old Brandon Jacobs style there.
240.
Damn,
looking like I was gonna say, and like moves at 240.
Yeah, well, because Brandon Jacobs was I think it was like him, Cadillac Williams, and Ronnie Brown. And Brandon Jacobs was the fastest of those three guys. Like Cadillac was quicker, and Ronnie Brown was a little more smooth and a better receiver out of the backfield. But Brandon Jacobs had sprinter speed, but he weighed 260. Yeah, he was built like a truck.
But I mean, we got everybody through, which is always cool. Like in a bowl game, you get to play your entire team. We got to clap the seniors off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think what it shows is that if we didn't have our head in our ass against Bama, we should have been in the playoff. That's the bottom line. It's like Bama didn't win that game. We lost it. That is the biggest. We
it's
lost
the same
that
thing.
Game.
Bama had that happen to him 2 weeks in a row. They almost had it happen to him 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
They literally had Auburn hand them the game on a silver platter.
We handed it to them too.
Here's the deal. I know y'all fucked up and y'all made it 4th and 31, and this is your last chance.
We're gonna bring
your whole season's over. But what we're going to do is we're not going to rush the quarterback. We're just going to stand here and let him eat a sandwich while he looks for a receiver. And we'll just trust that our DBs will be able to guard him for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
That's the Gravedigger play that y'all ran. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
What play?
That was your play. Our play is somebody go kick the defensive coordinator for the opposing team in the nuts and make him forget to call a defense. And we'll just be running whatever default special teams. It's like they're in.
They're bringing 2 people and dropping everybody.
Yeah, they're running. It was the craziest shit I've ever seen.
I'm done talking about that.
Did you see the play last night with the Dolphins-Bills game?
I know.
Where the Dolphins like dropped way back and played like under coverage. Like they put this big shell at the goal line on like they're like
after the Eagles performance yesterday, I just wasn't really interested in football.
There was like 15 seconds left in the half, and they just let Buffalo throw the ball for a first down and get out of bounds with 11 seconds left at like the 15-yard line. They just gave it to him.
Oh, like, yeah.
And then Buffalo fucked up and threw the ball like 5 yards short of the goal line, and the dude got tackled as he was approaching.
Oh, like going into the half?
Yeah, going into half.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, Eli Apple made a play.
So like the play before that, they gave up they were like, all right, look, we're gonna make this part easy. We just don't want to give up the easy touchdown. We're willing to give you a field goal, but we're not gonna let you have this, and then we'll trust that we can play defense from the 15 better than we can from the 25 or 30 or whatever it was.
So.
And then the next play, like they had it. I mean, he's open and it's going to be a touchdown, but he gets blown up at the goal line and doesn't get in. So, but then they didn't have any timeouts, so it was over.
So, your thoughts on the ReliaQuest Bowl against Wisconsin, against Luke Fickell?
Yeah. So, look, man. First of all, shout out to Garrett Nussmeier for the kid has waited. He got recruited in 2021, sat out a year. Then sat behind Jaden Daniels last year, then sat behind him again this whole year. And I've never seen, I shouldn't say I've never, you don't often see someone who is that like good of a teammate and that energetic and that just like joyful for his teammates. Like he's out there like high-fiving Jaden Daniels this whole year, cooking on the sideline, just doing everything to like hype him up, even though what he could be thinking is after you saw some of the stuff that he did last year in relief, right?
Yep.
He's putting up big numbers against Georgia in the SEC championship game and put up big numbers in the bowl game against Purdue last year where they were going back and forth. And there was talk of somewhat of a quarterback competition in camp this spring. And obviously Jaden Daniels won. He won the ultimate quarterback competition. But anyway, Garrett Nussmeier had just an incredible attitude and waited his turn, and this is his first ever start, and he lit it up. 395 yards and 3 touchdowns, just went crazy. And then after the game, he's just like, it's all in God's time. I'm just, because the interviewer started it off by saying, how did you feel carrying this team? And he's like, I didn't care putting this team on your back. He's like, I didn't put anything on my back. This is a total team effort, and I mean, some of that stuff is, player speak. I get it, but I think the dude's genuine. He really was just no, this is, I just know that this was really fun, but I know that it's time when it's time,
Yep.
I'm not gonna fret over it. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next year, because I think he has a chance to really put his name on the map and be a top 10 pick. And then, usher the Bryce Underwood era into existence after that. So I don't know if he'll stick around for 2 years or if he'll have a good enough season next year to warrant him jumping early to go to the draft, but he'll be draft eligible. So it's just going to be a matter of him and AJ Swan, how they're going to handle that. And then we also have, Colin Hurley and Ricky Collins is still, on the roster. There's a big quarterback room at LSU right now, a lot of talent, but Nussmeier got it done. The defense played really well, the last 2 or 3 possessions.
Yeah, you're hey, we have a defense.
I was like, okay,
better late than never. How about it? Better late than never.
That's right. Matt House still got fired though.
My one thing for next year is obviously there's gonna be a lot of there's the preseason Heisman talk.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody buy into Jalen Milroe Heisman talk.
Don't do it.
That is my PSA. There we go.
Yeah.
And quote.
Yes.
Nobody do it. Don't do it. They're gonna do it. The media's gonna do it. They're gonna do it to you.
Right.
Don't fall for it.
So we did this show live here today, but we have some other stuff that we're gonna do. Coming up, you should see. So we had our recruiting special a while back.
Mm-hmm.
We had our bowl preview special, and we've got a planned episode that is going to be just going over the upcoming schedule for the SEC teams as well. So look for that one. That one's coming out soon. And anyway, I don't know if you got anything else. I don't have anything else. I just want to say, let's go Huskies, because
Huskies.
I got an exacta that says Washington over Michigan exact result for the college football playoff that I'm riding on. And then I also put one on just like Washington straight up, like whoever they would play, just in case Alabama beat Michigan. But anyway, so both of those would hit in a big way. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm optimistic. I think Penix and company are going to get it done. They just got to get enough with that defense. What's that?
Here's what I can guarantee. It was 2014 was the last non-SEC participant national championship game. I was like, we will see in the national championship next year, guaranteed. SEC.
Oh, SEC. Okay.
SEC
12-team playoff. It's going to be a tough road to get there, but yeah, let's bring this back up so we can show everybody what we're talking about. So the first ever college football playoff, the championship game, was Ohio State beating Oregon 42-20. The next year, you had Alabama beating Clemson 45-40. Then Clemson beat Alabama 35-31. Then Alabama beat Georgia in the first Alabama-Georgia matchup in the national championship game, a 26-23 heartbreaker for Tyler and company. Then Clemson blew out Alabama in 2018, but the SEC still had a participant. Then LSU blew out Clemson the next year. Then Alabama blew out Ohio State the next year. And then Georgia beat Alabama in what wasn't a blowout, but became, I guess, sort of a blowout.
We added the touchdown at the end.
Yeah. And then, to wrap it all up, you guys took down TCU last year. But that was every year there was an SEC participant in that game.
This means more opportunities for SEC teams. There's going to be more SEC teams in the playoff next year. That's all I'm hearing. 12 teams. Plenty of SEC teams.
I mean, for real, like it's going to happen.
Hey,
so
listen, I got to end the show on a homer take. That's all I got to say.
That's right. This is the South End Zone. So you already know what it is. If you didn't know, now you know. So we appreciate everybody coming in. If you got college football fan friends and family, hit them up. Share this episode with them. Share all of our share our channel with them. Let's see. Do we get to count this as a Big Ten versus Big Ten championship? I guess so. Yeah. Like you will be able to. As you go forward, it'll be like, that still counts. Because technically they're already there, right? The Pac-12 is no more, it's not a Pac-12, it's a Pac-2. But yeah, I guess you could count that. So that, finally, some other conference can claim that they had two teams in the championship game, even though they didn't. So the SEC has done it 3 times: Alabama, LSU in 2011, and then Alabama, Georgia. Sorry, Tyler.
It's okay.
Alabama, Georgia twice. So never mind the fact that Alabama was in all 3 of them.
Yeah, we'll ignore that part.
We'll ignore that part.
Yeah.
I'm just glad they didn't make it to this one. My prediction still stands. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous, man.
Yeah, and the prediction will roll over to next year.
Yeah, it just rolls over and until Saban retires, and then when he retires, I can just stick a fork in the ground and be like, "It's done." I told y'all. He was never going to win another one. Oh man, my heart jumped out of my throat though.
Yeah, I know it did.
Whew. All right. Appreciate y'all coming through. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If you want to disagree with us, go ahead and argue with us in the comments. We will ignore you. No, I'm serious. We interact with the comments, so go ahead.
We interact with Jeremiah. We're here.
That's right. All right. South End Zone. I'm Chad. He is Tyler. We are out. Peace, y'all.
Peace.